Electric motor.
Synthetic rigging.
Classic sailboat.
No electronics.
Crossing the Atlantic Ocean.
Going where the fair winds blow, our home is where the waters flow. We'll show you what we've come to know on board while sailing wisdom.
This morning it's raining. Not too pleasant out, it's kind of gray. Go back inside. Well, the weather outside's not too pretty. We are doing really good mileage wise. We've averaged about 5 knots all afternoon yesterday, all through the night, and now into the morning. So we are en route for doing about 120 miles this 24-hour period, which is gonna be really nice. It's just yeah, this squall is just, or not squall, this rain cloud is passing over us. As soon as it's passed, I'm hoping that the day will, you know, brighten up and pretty blue skies and all that fun stuff. I made these yesterday. They're chocolate and delicious. Oh gosh. It's a pretty early one out here. It's amazing how the sky can change so much about how I feel about being out here. So, like, my dream was to sail across the Atlantic, so I'm checking that one off the list. But when there's just gray skies, just the water's gray, everything's just gray and dreary, and then you add rain to it, it's like, oh man, I don't really want to be out here today. So I'm just kind of like keeping watch from the companionway. Just poke my head out. Once again, we confirm that absolutely no one is out here. And then I go back in. I'm just reading a book, just taking it easy. Kind of just waiting for this little rainstorm to pass. That way we can go back to enjoying being out here again. Yeah, we entered a countercurrent for a little bit, and then we left it. So this is a little ebb near the shore, near the edge. Letting up some, still raining, and And Maddie's making some hard-boiled eggs. Okay, my alarm that tells me it's time to get on site, that way I don't miss it, went off. A little hiccup. I can't see the sun. So that makes this, I think, the 5th day without getting a celestial fix. So it's a good thing we're still far enough that it doesn't really matter. The winds are back and I started getting wet while trying to collect rainwater, but I collected that much, so hey, free water. I can have a good drink of fresh rainwater.
Herby's checking the electrical.
Yeah, so it's been really cloudy all day, which means that the house bank has charged nothing and the fridge is still running. So what I'm gonna do, we've also been doing the regen this whole time, so what I'm gonna do is test out all the voltages, see where everything is, and I'm thinking we're going to turn off the house bank's batteries and just run the fridge directly off the motor bank through the DC to DC converter.
I've just been reading my book all day, listening to the rain.
Well, right now the boat is drawing 1.2 amps steady. So that we can easily meet by using this DC to DC converter here, which can put out about 20 amps. So the whole issue is when I turn on the converter, it starts charging the house batteries. So you can see the house batteries are now sucking in 22 amps. That's just gonna kill our motor battery. So voltage wise, 49.4 volts in the motor, 10.8 volts in the house. All right, so now when I turn on the converter is only drawing 1.9, 1.8 amps. There the fridge kicked in. So now it's drawing 6 amps. Okay, so that the motor bank can handle. So the motor bank is now feeding everything of the boat. The house batteries are completely off. It's all running through this converter and it's sucking out about 6 to 7 amps at 12 volt. So I'm gonna run over and check the motor bank, see how many amps are coming out of it. So it's a 200 amp bank at 48 volts, which is equivalent to a 800 amp bank at 48 volts. All right, so having redundancies is like super important on the boat. And for us, power is, we like it. We like having electricity because we like keeping the fridge cold. So the normal setup is the solar panels charge the house batteries and those run the fridge. The problem is it's been really hot and we're close to the equator, so we have 12 hours of darkness. So that means that it's hot and dark for 12 hours. So the fridge runs really hard and is only being charged half the day. We've been using the motor for its regen, so it's an electric motor, so when the propeller spins, the motor turns and then that actually generates power. So that's worked really well because we can make a bunch of power with the electric motor, and then when we need it, we can just siphon it over to the house batteries. The problem is that the house batteries are so low that whenever we turn on the converter to charge them, it just like chugs the juice. I mean, it's chugging 20 some amps. that's just mind-blowing. It's too much power. So then what ends up happening is the house batteries charge some, but then the motor batteries are really low, and then we end up with like just generally low batteries. It's not great. So what I did, I turned off the house batteries. I'm running the converter with no house batteries on it. So the converter is powering the fridge and the lights and the radio and all that stuff directly from the motor bank. It goes 48 steps down to 12 volts and goes directly to the appliances. It doesn't go to a battery bank, which is super hungry right now. And then all we're doing is we're drawing about 6 amps at when the fridge kicks in. Otherwise it's like 1.5 amps. The motor bank will just, you know, keep producing power as we sail whenever the wind comes back, and the prop spins and everything just works. Then tomorrow, hopefully there's gonna be sun. We'll turn off the fridge, turn off all the electronics, give the house batteries a break, and just full blast them with the solar panels, just to, like, you know, put all the power we can get into them. And then that should bring them back up to speed, and then we can keep going like normal. Our big consumers right now are the AIS transmitter and the radio. And the nav lights are LEDs, so they don't draw much. These lights are LEDs, so they also don't draw much anyway. But the big consumer is the radio. That sucker just uses the juice. Now the regen power that we're getting, that is very speed dependent. So when we had all that rain, there was no wind and we just stopped moving. Wind's starting to come back, but I'm hoping that during the night the wind builds more and then we will keep scooting along. So when we're doing about 5 to 6 knots, we're making about a steady amp, like reliably, if not a little more than that. And this is all at 48 volts. So when we step it down to the converter, we're looking at 4 amps. So that'll definitely meet the needs and everything should be good. So we'd be putting power into the motor bank while still running all the house loads. So that's the goal, but all we can do is wait for the weather to change. And I must say, these rainy days suck. Like, you can't go outside because you just get wet. And it's just, yeah, these aren't the fun days. I much prefer the sunny days. So nice with AIS. We saw this guy miles and miles before he was actually going to be near us, and we knew how he was going to pass, which side, what distance, what time, everything. So it takes all the fear and guesswork out of night sailing. Alright, well that's the end of today. It's just been dreary and rainy and wet.
We haven't done anything to the helm or the sails in over a week.
And we are pretty close to Suriname. We are now 800 miles away.
And we are just surrounded by thunderheads all around us, but right where we are is good. Thanks for watching this episode of Sailing Wisdom. Don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next Rigging Doctor episode. And if you're interested in even more Rigging Doctor awesomeness, consider becoming a patron to see all of our extras. Can't wait to see you next time as you join us out here on the high seas.